High school football fans in the North Florida, Tallahassee, and Panama City area. Welcome to another edition of the Extra Point. Coach, we got some panhandle teams that are making their way to the state semifinals, and we have a couple of teams here in town that are doing really well. And it's getting down to the last, the state semifinals are this week, and we will find out who will punch their ticket to Bragg Stadium here in the capital city next weekend for the state championships. It's an exciting time, but before we get into that, Coach, what is up with this bias against FSU, man? I don't understand it.
I have no idea, man. It's fervent. It's like something gonna happen if they put FSU in the playoffs. I'm
I
like,
have not seen it
every
this
year
bad.
if you think that every year in the NFL the same thing, you win, you in. You don't have any disputes. That's what I like about it. Then you got and with college, you got somebody's opinion, and then the media. Some not everybody, but folks in the media push out this thing that the ACC is so weak. But as we discussed earlier, they have 4 teams that are ranked. Florida State has won all the games they had to play. They beat Florida. They beat LSU. Even though I heard one commentator talking about they did that at the beginning of the year. And they're a different team without Trey. So what? People get hurt all year long. I mean,
I
you
don't
gonna
understand.
punish me because one
Ohio
of my
State.
kids got it? Say what?
Remember Ohio State won in 2014. They won the whole thing with a third string quarterback. Now he was
Right.
a hell of a quarterback, but still, I was like, I don't understand. I like to think that the game is played on grass, preferably, or artificial turf on Saturdays. That's how you work stuff out. But I don't know. Apparently, Las Vegas and the odds makers are running the show. And if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you don't get that preferential treatment. So I don't know. We got all of these teams that are future SEC or Big Ten teams on the move that are comprised the rest of the top four, but Florida State just seemed to be like the redheaded stepchild. I don't get it. So
And I want to give them
me,
credit. That's maybe because we live here, it bothers us. But for them to just continually, people doing whole shows about FSU not being uh, good enough to be in the playoffs. They keep comparing the TCU. How the heck you compare FSU to TCU? FSU been a perennial top program in the country, and all of a sudden now they're undefeated, which is what you're trying to do. And you don't want to this. One of the problems with this season is that it's up for it's what 4 teams that are undefeated, and you
yeah,
can't use your opinion enough when you have a team, all these teams undefeated, and these other teams are competing for these one spot, that one or two spots left. And then the other thing with some of these schools, they're going off of tradition, but for some reason there's no tradition counted for FSU.
I just think Paul Feinbaum he's just too emotional about it. I just was him and Danny Cannell you need to lock them in a room and let them argue it out because I don't see how this is working. But meanwhile, over there on Wanish Way, the guys in orange and green have a huge game coming up this weekend against a team that they've already beat pretty soundly against Prairie View. Florida A&M will try to win their first SWAC championship this weekend. Hopefully, the weather won't put them out too bad, but I feel good about the Dark Cloud defense and Willie Simmons' crew. I think they'll go ahead and take care of business. And I look for FAMU to be in the Celebration Bowl, which would be great for me because I can just go down the street and catch a great game.
Yeah,
And Coach, you invited. You invited. If you feel like coming up to watch FAMU play, you just let me know. I'll take care of you.
Oh, okay. You know my answer to that. It's on TV. It's on television. The old
All
legs
right.
can't move like I used to.
Let's go ahead and jump into some high school football. Great matchups last weekend. We had a couple of teams that unfortunately had to turn in some pads this weekend. Let's go ahead and jump into it. NFC dispatched John Paul II with a great second half surge. Scored 11 points in the third quarter that made all the difference. Eagles win it 21-14 over the Panthers. And the Eagles are back in the state semifinals once again. Familiar territory for NFC, but with they're getting the job done with a few of their weapons missing. And it just seems to me that the Eagles are doing they just gone about their business very very quietly, but they're right back where they want to be. JP Pickles once again led the offense, going for 14 for 30 for 185 yards and a touchdown. And for NFC, this is pretty much where we expected them to be. But they've gone about it very low key. We haven't had much hype about NFC this year, but the Eagles have been able to, really running back by committee and receiver by committee, get the job done.
Well, early in the year they passed a few hiccups. People didn't expect them to be as good as they were this year, but they getting through the playoffs and what eight state championships, trying to make it 9. I mean,
I believe
what
so.
else? What else you can expect from NFC? They're a very successful program. Coach Hill has done an awesome job over there getting these guys ready with some of the problems he had later in the season, early in the season also. They're getting things together at the right time, and like you said before, I mean it's familiar territory with NFC. They always find a way, and this is sort of like their time. We going to the state championship. You expect them to go, but they're gonna have a tough uh, task to do to compete against the teams they have to face the rest of the year. It's not going to be easy.
No, it will not. The Eagles, pretty much it's JP Pickles. I'm just, I mean, throwing for 185 yards in the air and then rushing for 173 on the ground on 73 carries. It's just he is keeping the lights on right now. NFC has some great guys. I think their whole offense had to shift after losing some key players just before the postseason started, but it's been JP Pickles versus everybody is what it looks like. And if defenses aren't keyed in on him, I don't know what else to tell you. It's not that NFC doesn't have other key playmakers. They've got Major Hart, they've got Joshua Schultz, they've got Terrion Martin. Those guys are definitely been factors in the offense. Zeke Ackerman, another kid that's been active in the NFC offense. But when your quarterback is running for 173 yards and also passing for 185, it's difficult to kind of it's difficult to try and key in on somebody else when the quarterback is so lethal. And then on defense, JP Pickles helped out his own cause with 2 pass breakups. So it's kind of like you got to really key in on where is number 19, find him, make sure that you limit him, and that's really all you can do. Up next will be a tall test for the Eagles as they take on 10-2 Cardinal Mooney. And really for NFC, I think it's just going to be pretty much, can you get JP Pickles in some time to throw the ball, find some open receivers? Can you also get him some room to run, because he's going to have to use his legs? And really, their scoring averages, it's an interesting stat. Cardinal Mooney is averaging 43 points a game. So this is a team that likes to start fast and also finish out ball games. They've closed out some really good opponents on their schedule. So NFC will be taking the trip down south. And you kind of wonder about some of these semifinal matchups, because you really don't get the benefit of home field advantage, but also you got to take a 6 or 7 hour bus ride. And so that can be pretty daunting. But hopefully the Eagles, given their history, they've been known to win close ball games. This is a team I think they're somewhat evenly matched against. When you look at how Cardinal Mooney is built, this is a team that really has played up similar schedules that NFC has played. They've had a great run through the playoffs. They beat Victory Christian Academy just last week, 42-0. So NFC is definitely going to have their hands full, but can they handle the road environment? Are they still able to do what they need to do, even though they're not in the confines of Eagle Field? So we'll see coming up this Friday, but NFC has a tall test against 10-2 Cardinal Mooney, and this one will be for a trip to Bragg Stadium, and NFC has a lot on the line because they want to be able to play back at home in the capital city.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would love to be able to play the playoffs in their hometown, and especially the state championship. and I look for them. I mean, they got a tough task ahead of them. It's going to be difficult to go there and win, but a team like NFC that's constantly in the playoffs, constantly competing for a state title, can handle this situation.
Yeah, Cardinal Mooney looks like a run heavy team. So NFC will definitely have to, potentially put 8 in the box and try to stop Carson Beach, their leading rusher, averaging 114 yards a game. Um, he also has 22 touchdowns on the year. So NFC will definitely have their hands full with their rushing attack. But NFC definitely no stranger. They played some quality opponents this year. Looking at their schedule, they've been able to kind of hang tough against a lot of good teams here in North Florida in the capital city area. And I think that, being able to play the Leons and the Wakullahs and put up points definitely will kind of put if anything, that will be to NFC's advantage because they've played some quality level opponents, and hopefully that will serve them some benefit as they take on Cardinal Mooney down in South Florida. So the Eagles will look to punch their ticket to Bragg if they can take care of business against Cardinal Mooney this week, but it'll be a tall test on Friday night. Moving on around the area, Seminoles fall to Pensacola Catholic. Florida High ends their season on a sour note, not able to put up any fourth quarter points as they fall to Pensacola Catholic 17-10. And it was a pretty close ball game midway through. It was tied going into the fourth quarter. Then the Florida High defense gives up a decisive touchdown late in the ball game. I think they gave up a 24 or 27-yard rushing touchdown that proved to be the difference maker. Both teams pretty evenly matched on defense. Pensacola Catholic led 10-0 at the half, and Florida High used a late third quarter surge to kind of even out things, but they ended up falling to Pensacola Catholic 17-10. And really a great season by Florida High, just not able to get back to where they felt like they belong, which is in the state championship game.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think this program at Florida High has been very successful. They got great, one of the best coaching staffs in this area. You're talking about a team that always putting together. You sometimes you can't put your finger on what things going on, and when you get down the road, you just need a break. Something got to break your way, and it's just unfortunate they played a tough Pensacola Cat. Was knocked off the number one seed in this region, went to their place, and then knocked off Florida High. And I think Florida High was the number 3 seed in the whole region, which
Yeah,
we
behind
talked about earlier.
Wakulla and Walton. Both
We
all
talked,
three teams are not out.
yeah, we talked about this earlier. It is a tough region to be in. Whoever comes out of there got to be a team that look like they should make it to Bragg Stadium in the state finals. Uh, tough, uh, hurtful thing, I guess, for Florida High because they had one of the better records, and they also had the game at home, and they unfortunately couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, Florida High defense just couldn't do anything with Nigel Nelson on Pensacola Catholic. The running back put up 251 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. So that just kills you when you're not able to stop the other team's rushing attack. Also, Florida High was not able to move the ball very well on the ground, only rushed for 44 yards. Jeremy Johnson was 10 of 21 for 117 yards passing and a decisive touchdown that kind of kept Florida High in the ball game. But when you got a running back that puts up 251 yards, like you're already playing behind the 8 ball, and it was too much for the Seminoles, and it doomed their season. So great job by Coach Hickman. Hopefully, we know Florida High will be back with a new crop of talent next year, but man, you hate to see the Seminoles go out like that.
Yeah, it's tough loss, tough. You get to this part of the regional finals, and you're hoping that you could come with your A game, and then unfortunately they face a tough team. It's no shame in losing to Pensacola Catholic, which I watched a couple of games early in the year. They play tough football. They run the ball. They always in the hunt, just like Florida High. And unfortunately, Florida High could not pull this one out.
So now we drop down to the 1R classification, and Madison County and Bozeman, the reseeding of the semifinals for the 1R classification has some head scratching going on, but we will get Madison County hosting Bozeman. The Cowboys are 9-1 on a shortened schedule, and Bozeman Bucks are undefeated at 12-0. And coach, this will be a hell of a semifinal game. I don't think there's a better matchup around where you're going to see Bozeman taking on Madison County at Boot Hill. It's going to be a great environment, but the Cowboys really they played their best football, in my opinion, last week against Union County. They were able to outlast the Tigers 17-14. And really, for Madison, they just used, what they always do. They ran the football, and they found enough playmakers to get the job done using a late fourth quarter surge to reclaim the lead. They trailed 14-13, 14-10 going into the fourth quarter. And that was the difference maker, as Madison County was able to put up the last touchdown in the last period to take the win 17-14. And really, we know Madison County is not a passing team. I think Madison in the past 20 years that we've seen them, they've only really had one or two pass-heavy teams, but it was running back by committee, and they were led by Varian Terry, who had 102 yards on the ground. He was followed up by Zavarian Bryant, who had 84 yards, and John Christian, who had 41. And that was pretty much how Madison got the job done. Union County definitely got it done through the air with 129 yards passing. And they were really, for what Madison has seen this year, their schedule really has favored them. They played a lot of tough opponents, and I think it really has proven to be on their side here late in the season, as they were able to secure the victory. And now what waits for them is a tough Bozeman team who just last week was able to beat up on Holmes County. And really, it was a close game until the fourth quarter. Bozeman trailed 14-7 going into the fourth. And, you can call it Bozeman magic if you want to, but they were able to put up 21 points in the fourth quarter. And really just use mistake-free football. Did not have any penalties assessed against them in the ball game, as Peyton Gay was 19-35 and threw for 250 yards in that late surge. And they were able to pull out the victory at home against a really tough Holmes County team who thought they had their number. Again, Holmes County led at halftime 14-0. So obviously, Bozeman made the adjustments as they were able to rip off 28 unanswered to be able to put themselves into the semifinals against now what will be a tough game against Madison County.
Mark, I watched that game. Holmes County controlled it for 3 quarters. They ran the ball. Look like Bozeman couldn't stop them. They moved up and down the field, controlled the time and possession. It looked like, I said, man, is Bozeman going to win? Yeah, I mean, what are they going to pull it out? But home in that fourth quarter, the Bozeman Bucks went down the field, scored, and I'm like, dang, it looked like it was a blowout a little bit, but it was a tough matchup for them. It's going to prepare them for who they're playing on this upcoming Friday. It's playing a tough Holmes County team, which had a great season. Looked like they were on their way to this round, but Bozeman was too good. They had too much talent, too much offense for them to take the win, and it sets up one of the best matchups in the playoffs. Passing team like Bozeman going up against a team like the Madison Cowboys, which is a perennial championship team. So look for fireworks. I like to watch the games on streaming online. That game almost got me wanting to just ride down to Madison and watch this.
It might be worth doing because it's Bozeman really has been battle tested. They won some very decisive games on the road. They were able to beat Chipley on the road in a tough ball game, a tough environment. They were able to beat Holmes County on the road in the regular season in a tough environment. And then recently, a pair of comeback wins. This team knows how to play. They've been able to do they've been able to work really magic with their quarterback, Peyton Gay, the West Virginia commit. He had 250 yards in the air. And let's not forget about the Bozeman defense. They had 6 tackles for a loss and 2 sacks. So when you got a defense that's going to get in the other team's backfield, that really bodes pretty well. But we know Madison is going to be a tough draw for the Bucks. And this is I look for this to be a very close, low-scoring ball game. I know Bozeman likes to open it up with the passing attack, but Madison County has a stable of defenders that will definitely give you a run for your money. I wouldn't be surprised if not more than 10 points was got put up on the scoreboard with the way these teams have played this past season.
Well, look for anything in this kind of game. You talk about a wide open attack against a solid running game. It should be exciting to fans. If you like defense, this might be the game to come see. If you like offense, it might be the game to come see. Both of these teams are contrast, and they're like, as I said before, a great matchup, one of the better matchups in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, on the other side of the bracket, the Blountstown Tigers will be taking on undefeated Hawthorne at 11-0. The Tigers are 8-3 on the year, and they got there by beating up on Port St. Joe last week. Another decisive win for the Tigers at home. Jordan Pride had a big game along with some other Tigers. And really for Blountstown, it was another come from behind. It was a come from behind win, but another game where they held the opponent to under 10 points. Port St. Joe led in the fourth quarter 10-7, and then a key touchdown by the Blountstown Tigers proved to be the decisive factor. But time of possession, Blountstown ain't gonna let you have the ball. They're just not. Port St. Joe had the ball for 12 minutes, 47 seconds, while Blountstown had the ball for 35 minutes. If that's not one of the keys to victory, I don't know what is. Blountstown, again, we talked about how they were able to get the job done. Amarian Hoover ran for 118 yards on the ground. And then we talked about Jordan Pride earlier. Jordan Pride had the Alabama commit had 48 yards rushing and then 63 yards receiving. And it's just really hard when you're trying to key in on that one guy while containing everybody else. When you look at all-purpose yards, it was Amarian Hoover leading the way with 112, and then right behind him was Jordan Pride with 111. So really, the Blountstown offense just runs through those two guys. And when you look at defense, again, tackles for a loss, Blountstown had 5 tackles for a loss. This is a team that's really making their presence known by getting in the other team's backfield. And that's how they were able to beat up on Port St. Joe last week in a very decisive victory. So they get Hawthorne, who is undefeated on the year. Hawthorne has played the likes of Middleburg, Newberry. They've really played up. They beat Union County early in the year. And then on their way in the playoffs, they beat Newberry and Williston. So this is going to be a tough game for Blountstown as they are hitting the road. It's going to be a tough environment for them. But if Blountstown can play the kind of brand of defense they've been playing and hang on to the football with ball possession, look for the Blountstown. Don't be surprised if you see the Tigers in Bragg Stadium next week.
It will be a surprise going against Hawthorne, a team, a perennial championship team. They're always in this position. A few years ago, I remember a few years back, they were a struggling program. Now, there's a team that you do not want to play. It is a tough matchup for Blountstown. I look for the game to be close. Also, look for it to be a low-scoring game. Don't look for any wide open because both of them try to control the ball, and both teams are pretty good. And I think looking down the road, this matchup, it's kind of funny when you got the 1R having probably 2 of the best matchups in the whole playoffs. It is I guess because it's not as many teams, but it's going to be tough for either one of these teams to get to Bragg Stadium. Out of all 4 matchups we got, whoever's there going to be a heck of a matchup for the other.
Yeah, Hawthorne has been on a surge of the past 3 out of 4 years. They've made the Final Four. This is a team that definitely will give Blountstown as much as they can handle. And then across the bracket, you've got what really is a mini Super Bowl. Bozeman and Madison County. That's a game I definitely will have my eyes on. And then, of course, NFC heading down south to Sarasota to take on Cardinal Mooney. We've got a few teams left standing, and we'll see who punches their ticket to Bragg Stadium next week. But Man, Coach, it's going to be a great semifinal week. I'm looking forward to it. And, it's tough when you have to see some familiar teams turning pads, but man, this is the best brand of football that you're going to get right here in the North Florida area. So that'll do it for this edition of the Extra Point. We'll catch everybody next week where we preview the state championship matchups. So we want everybody to keep it locked here to Four Quarters Online. And for my tag team partner, Coach Cofield, I'm Mark Adams. We'll catch everybody next week for the state championship preview edition of the Extra Point.